To the United States Educational Foundation in Pakistan. I'm here to talk about your last chance to get your applications ready for the Fullbright student program. Some of you have questions left. Please send them in. Meanwhile, let me just recap what this Fullbright program is about and why you might want to be applying. This is for fully funded master's and fully funded PhD degrees in the United States at top schools in the US. What does the funding cover? It covers everything from your airfare to your tuition to a living stipend to your health insurance, your books, and even a computer. Whatever you're required to be a success in your studies in the US, the Fulbright program is providing it for you. So it's a terrific opportunity. We'll be selecting about 50 PhDs and a lot of masters as well. Since 2005, we've had the world's biggest Fulbright program here in Pakistan. This program runs in 150 countries around the world, and the biggest program has been here. So it's a really great time to be a student in Pakistan, and I just encourage all of you to take advantage of this opportunity. So let's see what kind of questions are coming. I think I'm sensing some anxiety about taking the GRE and which we often have anxiety about. So let me tell you that the deadline for the Fulbright Scholarship is May 16th, but we have extended the deadline for receiving your GRE scores to May 31st. After May 31st, we will not be accepting your scores. If you can't take the GRE before then you're going to have to apply for the next round of Fulbright because we have to cut it off somewhere. Okay. Okay, good question. Some of you are saying I have applied before and should I apply again? Yes, many people are not selected the first time they apply. You know, it's a bit of a complicated application and there's an interview process as well. In the process of applying for this, you will learn a lot of things that will make your application stronger the second time, and many of our best Fulbrighters got the scholarship on the second or even the third time around. So please do be sure to get your application in and don't be discouraged. All right. Yeah, everybody has to take the GRE. Doesn't matter what your field of study is, the GRE is required. And I can explain a little bit that the reason for that is that it's a national competition. You know, we realize that for some fields like business, usually a GMAT would be taken. But we really need some standardized score to make sure that we're really selecting on merit. I mean, GRE is just one part of your application, and you know, you can be selected without having a super great GRE score. But we do need to have that score no matter what your field is. Okay. If you do your 4 years degree in 5 years, does it affect your selection? No. As long as you've completed your degree and you have a 4-year bachelor's degree or the equivalent of a 4-year bachelor's degree, you are eligible. It doesn't matter. And if you have, when you're writing your statement of purpose and your study objectives, if there are some gaps there that it has taken you longer, you know, there's a space there to give an explanation for it. And it's always helpful if you explain what you've been doing during your studies and after, and explain community service you've done, your work experience, etc. The more full picture we get of you as a human being who's going to come back to Pakistan and make a difference, the better your chances are of being selected. All right, let's see what else we have. 3-year bachelor's. Again, if you have a 3-year bachelor's, and that's the case once in a while, that happens. If you have from the HEC an equivalency certificate that says that it's equivalent to a 4-year bachelor's, that's okay. Other questions? Well, Okay, some of you, the temptation is there. I know, like right now I'm on the internet, and I know on the internet there are a lot of people who are offering services to help you write this application. Don't pay anyone to write your application. When you come in, let's say you have the greatest application in the world. When you're shortlisted, you come in for an interview, you're going to be asked to write something. You're going to talk to a distinguished panel of selectors, and if you haven't written your application yourself, believe me, people will know it. And it's much better to go through that whole process, not get selected, but have people believe you're an honest candidate than to get called for an interview and then have people wonder, did you really do it yourself? So by all means, get someone to proofread your application, use spell check, read your statements to people, what they, get their feedback, but have it be real and about yourself. Okay, let's see what else. If I already have a foreign master's, is it hard to get a scholarship for another foreign master's? Great question. Generally speaking, we want to give the master's grants to people who don't already have a master's degree. Now, it's possible that there's some really compelling reason that you need a master's in a different field from what you already have, and that you have some really significant achievements. You can apply, but your chances of being selected are not good. We really do want to give priority to people who don't already have a master's degree. However, if you have a foreign master's and you want to apply for the PhD, that is perfectly fine. Many of our PhD Fulbrighters have degrees from the UK or Canada or wherever. So I would encourage you to apply for a PhD. Okay, let's see what else we have. Do you need to secure an admission in the United States first? Another great question. No, you do not. If you are selected, we work with an institution called the Institute for International Education based in New York City. They have placement professionals who go through your qualifications and your study objectives and try to figure out what are the best universities in the United States that they can try to get you into. They will submit your application to 4 or 5 universities. You will have a chance to say, if those are okay with you, and then in April or March, April, May of the following year, you'll know which school you got into. You don't need to worry about that. Do spend some time looking, if you have the time or if you know enough about your field to do this. Do look at what kind of programs there are in your field. There's a place on the form that says, ask you for your preferences. If you have preferences, make sure they're real preferences. Don't just write, well, I want to go to Harvard, Stanford, Yale, whatever, because I've heard of it. You should know what the programs are like in your field and have a good reason for selecting that, because you will be asked about it in your interview. It's perfectly okay to leave it blank. If you're not sure where you'd want to go, leave it blank. Those of you applying for a PhD, you can really get a little advantage if you spend some time looking at journals in your field and see which professors in America are really leaders in the field you want to study, so that you can maybe list the universities that they work at as your preferences. So that's a little tip from me. Okay. If I reapply, do I have to totally change my personal statement and research objective? No. It should still reflect who you are. Anything we do in life can be improved. It can be maybe a little bit better the second time around. But honestly, this is a tough competition. Many really, really great students just miss the cutoff. I mean, in everything in life, there's a little element of luck as well as merit. It's not a science. Nobody can define it exactly. So, sometimes it's just a little bit who reviewed your application, but spend some time obviously improving it and looking at it, maybe asking someone what might have been the weaknesses of my application, and try to make it better. But no, you don't have to totally change it at all. Okay, let's see. Changing fields. Somebody here is asking about having a chemistry background and wanting to change it to hydrology. I don't know enough about chemistry or hydrology to say what's possible or what's not on that, but I will say that if you want to change your field, you need to really be able to demonstrate that you have the background that's needed to pursue the field that you're applying in. So in other words, let's say you have a bachelor's in engineering and you want to go into management. That is a transition that people can make. But if you have your bachelor's in management, you can't go into engineering. So, there's a lot of common sense there. You need a reason to change your field, and you need an explanation that you have the background and skills and knowledge to succeed in a program in the U.S. In that field. I hope that answered that. Yes, for pharmacy students. We have all disciplines are eligible to apply. The only exception is clinical medicine. That's medicine where you work with patients. Pharmacy is a research field. We have plenty of applicants and grantees who are in the field of pharmacy, so we definitely encourage you to apply. Now, okay, how to submit a reference letter. Let's talk about the mechanics of the application a little bit. All of the application is online with the exception of the reference letter. We know that you're not submitting those yourself. You're not writing them yourself, hopefully. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for your referees to submit their letters. They can send them to us by post. They can email them to us directly online, or they can give us a scanned letter and send us that through email. So basically, any way that they can get them to them, we're going to accept them. Okay. Okay, I'm glad to see that some of you have friends or some of you applied in the past and are like looking at how to do better in the future. Like I said, please reapply. And I can. For encouragement for some of you, you should know that last year we got applications from 105 different universities in Pakistan. Out of that, the students selected were from 39 different universities. So you have a chance, whatever university you're in. I really encourage you guys who are in public universities who feel that maybe you don't have the advantages of students at some of our expensive private universities. You do have a chance. Many of our grantees come from public universities as well. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Yes, scanned letters. We're back on the reference letters. Scanned letters need signatures, of course. Thanks. And what else have we got? Okay, here's a question we always get. I'm not good at doing maths, what about the GRE? Let me assure those of you who are not in quantitative, math-based subjects, please don't worry too much about the math section of the GRE. If you're applying for a field that, for example, fine arts or literature, where math is not important to your success, your math score is not going to be counted anywhere nearly as highly as your verbal score. Just do well enough to show that you cared enough to take the exam and do a bit of practice and do the best you can do. But you will be fine with a very modest GRE score in math if it's not a math-based field. If you're in engineering or computer science, obviously you're going to need a higher math score, but then on the other hand, maybe your verbal score can be a bit lower. And let me also say, just generally speaking, if you don't have really good grades, then a good GRE score is going to be more important than if you have really top grades. Ideally, you would have both, but if you don't, then I would work harder on the GRE if you are trying to show that you have the capacity to be a good student, but you have not had that grade of grades. Because you don't have to be a university topper or something to apply. Many people who are selected don't have the best grades, but you have to have something that shows us that you can be a really good student in America. So the GRE gives you gives an opportunity to people who have not really done as spectacularly well as undergraduates as they have the potential to do. So look at it as an opportunity, not just a chore. Okay, agriculture. You know, we really would love to encourage students in agriculture to apply. There are 5 priority fields that we have identified. Agriculture is one: energy, water, health, and education. You know, we realize we probably get more people applying for postdocs. We have more professors applying for our postdoc program than we have applying for the degree program. But every year we do manage to get a few really good agriculture applicants, and you know, we really definitely encourage you to apply. And if you're already in an MPhil program, it's okay, apply for the PhD program. Okay, does it add weight if we add university preferences? I like that question because it shows that you've been actually looking at the application and thinking about it. Let's put it this way. If you add preferences that show that you really understand your field and you have researched it and tried to figure out where the good programs are in your field, and you have some real reason that you want to study there, then it will strengthen your application a bit. But if you just put in preferences that you've not researched, that will not reflect well, so it's better to leave it blank. In other words, if you really genuinely have an idea of where you want to study, put it in there. But if you're just kind of making it up or guessing, then leave it blank. It's better to leave it blank. Okay, what else? Oh, it's kind of, the questions are kind of jumping around, so I'll take a question off of here then. What to say in your personal statement? I've said this before, so I'm not going to say it, you know, in too much detail. But your personal statement should reflect who you are as a person, what your goals in life are a little bit, how you develop the interests you have, and it should be genuinely about you. Some people ask us, well, you know, if we make a real sob story in there that, well, I had to study under a tree and I didn't have a desk and we, you know, wrote on slates and things like that. No, it doesn't help your application if you've made up that life is harder than it is. I would say if you have had real struggles, the personal statement is a good place to explain that, but in the way that you are competing against people who have not had the kind of struggles you have. And that's made maybe it easier for them to have the good grades they have and the great GRE score and maybe the community service experience and all that. If you've had to really overcome something to do that makes us, that we should look at your application the same way we look at somebody who has the top score in their university or something, that's the story you should be telling. But don't just make up, you know, I had a hard childhood or we didn't have enough money. It doesn't really matter. This is a merit-based program. It's not a need-based program. It is about, but we define merit by your potential. How do we know what your potential is? By what you've achieved so far. And some people have an easier time in life to have achieved what they've achieved. So if you can try to look at it that way when you write it, it'll be stronger. And those of you who have not struggled to overcome things as much, don't focus on that. Focus on something else. Okay. If you already have a PhD, no, you're not eligible to apply. You can apply for our postdoc grant when we advertise that. Business administration MBAs. We have sent many people with MBAs to the US, and if you go to YouTube and go look for Fullbright Heroes, you will see some samples of the kind of students we've sent, including some of our MBA students. So I definitely encourage those of you who want an MBA to apply. Just remember that you have to have work experience, 3 years work experience to apply for either MBA or public policy. Okay. And if you are selected in business, you will be asked to take the GMAT once you're selected, not before. Okay, we need the GRE score, not the GMAT score. Okay, what else? No, can I explain how many marks there are for each attribute? Good question, nice, honest question. No, you know, this is something that changes all the time. We don't have a fixed formula like that, though we, you know, the basic things are we do want you to be a good student. We want you to be someone who's going to come back to Pakistan and contribute to Pakistan's development. We are looking for some kind of, for regional diversity, for gender balance, but we don't have any quotas. So I can't, you know, what I would say is more useful for analyzing how good an applicant you are is to not to count the points that you'd have on each of these sections, but think about yourself as, are you the kind of person that someone would want to invest $100,000 in your master's degree for? Why would we do that? Put yourself in our shoes. This is funded by the US government and the government of Pakistan, especially the PhDs. You know, it's a real great contribution to the country and to the individuals who are getting these grants. So you need to ask yourself, well, why would somebody invest that much in me? And if you can make a convincing case of that, that's really what your task is to do. Okay. Any funded for direct admitted PhD students? I'm not sure 100% what that question means, but I would say if you have applied already to the US and you have an admission letter, attach it to your application and you know, say that you're interested in going but you couldn't afford to go. I would encourage you to do that. Okay, if you secure, again, here's another one. If you secure admission independently, will it be considered? Here's the thing. If you get an admission, since the selection now will be for 2019, you would have to take a deferment from that university for a year to take the Fullbright. If you take a deferment from that university, it's binding. You can't then say, oh, I'm not going to go to that one. After all, I want to go to a different one. So if you accept that admission, yes, it looks good for our selection committee because we know you can get admission into a good school in America. But then, you know, you need to be prepared that that is the school you would go to if you were selected. But by all means, if you have an admission, definitely attach it. And for those of you who are not selected, we have Education USA centers here in our office in Islamabad, in Lahore, and in Karachi. And if you're not selected, you can come in and meet with our advisors. We will take your Fullbright application and try to turn it into a direct application so that we can get you admission to a good program in the US. And we're working with the HEC also with to try to get students direct admissions. So it's not just Fulbright. If you take the effort to have a good Fulbright application, even if you're not selected, you still have good hopes of going and studying in the US, and we like to work with you to do that. Okay. Oh, here's another great question. Thank you for asking this, Nabil Khan. I've already been on an exchange program on a J1 visa. Can I go? Yes, the answer is yes. If you're one of our global UGrad or other short-term alumni, you are absolutely eligible to apply for the Fulbright, and it will not at all count against you. The only programs that are ineligible is you can't have 2 Fulbright programs. And you can't, if you've got a US degree that you've completed within the last 5 years, then you're not eligible. We are trying to give priority to people who have not been to the US, but that is not true for our program alumni. It will not count against you in any way if you're one of our global UGrads or FLTAs and want to apply. Okay. Okay, got an offer of admission without GRE. Okay, one more, last time. Fulbright, you're not getting it without a GRE. And honestly, some of the schools will take you without a GRE, but if you want to go to have a selection of the best schools in America, the GRE is going to be really helpful. As far as the TOEFL exam, if you are called for an interview, then we will ask you to take a TOEFL exam. We don't ask you to submit a TOEFL score with your application. Why? To save you some money, okay? But if you are called, you'll have to take the TOEFL exam within 2 weeks. And no, the IELTS is not a substitute. I'm sorry to say, it will have to be the TOEFL. Okay, next. Okay, good question. What does the university selection depend on? Really, it depends on, different schools have different criteria. When I say schools, I mean universities in the US. Some are extremely competitive. Unless you have a really very good GRE score and grades, you will have a hard time getting into some of the very selective schools. But I'm happy to say that many of the schools that are slightly less selective are also excellent schools, and we try to get you into the best program we can get you in that matches your credentials and your interests. I mean, you know, everybody's heard of Harvard. Harvard doesn't have a program in agriculture, okay? Nobody's going there in agriculture. There are universities that specialize in that, and that's true of many fields. Just because you haven't heard of a university doesn't mean that it's not one of the top universities in America. For example, I think the person who asked this question is in public health. If you're in public health, the Centers for Disease Control are located in Atlanta, right near Emory University, which is one of the very top universities in public health. I think most people in Pakistan have not heard of Emory, but everyone in America has heard of it. So, and the other thing I'd say is that people who are selected for Fulbright, once they go and start their programs, we honestly do not get complaints from anybody that they wish they were somewhere else. I think the matching between people's interests and abilities and the universities is pretty well done by IAE. Okay, what else have we got? Important dates, May 16th. We need to receive your application online, you know, by 11:59 on May 16th. Don't wait till 11:59 because there'll probably be a lot of traffic on our website at that time, okay? And then we need to receive your GRE scores by May 31st. And your references, you know, hopefully, we know you can't control when we receive your recommendation letter, so we're a little bit flexible on that. Okay, got the dates? Good. The information about where to send reference letters and things are, all of the information is on the application form. Go to our website, which since you're on the internet now, I know you know where our website is. Read carefully the instructions for the application. All the details are there. If you still don't find what you're looking for, read the FAQs that are on the website. There's 4 pages of FAQs. They should answer everything. If you still have a question, then write to info@usefpakistan.org. Okay. Let's see. Does Fullbright offer a postgrad degree for psychology? Every field. If there's a master's degree in that field, then it's an eligible field. As I said, except for clinical medicine. Okay. Get yourself registered for the GRE right away because the seats are going fast. Again, that registration happens on our website. There's test dates available, so please do that. I can see that I'm out of time. So thank you all very much for tuning in. Good luck with your applications. Hope to see you shortlisted here in USEFP during the summer. Thank you.